happy Monday. We have a page in the Johanna Basford weekly planner today from World of Flowers. Now this particular design is on the dust wrapper and also in the main book. I think this is a little chopped version of it. Now I often find this page difficult to know what to do with, probably because there's so many flowers of such different types, shapes and sizes. I'm never sure how to sort of deal with that. But what I've decided to do today is to stick to a specific colour, with all the petals being the same colour as each other. Not the same shade of that colour, but the same colour. And I think for me, that will make it very much easier. So that is my plan. You don't have to follow my exact plan, but see how you get on. Now the colour I have picked is blue because the set of pencils I'm using, which is the Staedtler Design Journey, has a good selection of blues, and I've chosen these pencils because the flowers are so teeny tiny. Before we start the blue, we're going to do the flower centres. I am going to come in just a tad closer, but I'm going to do all the centres at once. Wow, that would be very clever. I'd need quite a lot of different pencils to do that. I'm going to use the light yellow, which is number 10 in our set, and do all the centres the same in this one colour. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to do them all in a sort of solid block. This is because some of them are really teeny tiny and some of them aren't. And I think with a little bit of consistency across all of our plants, it will help to bring it all together. Now these ones are so small that I'm just doing the best that I can, but they are tiny. Now this one's got little dots on it. I'm going to choose to ignore those at present. I might come back in later, put something there, or I just might not. You know, I will see how my fancy takes me later, but I just want to do them all the same. I do like the way Johanna draws these little ones here. When it comes to doing the petals, I will come in closer to show you what I'm doing, but because I am just blocking in colour into the centres and not doing anything at all fancy, I thought it would be easier if I just stayed zoomed out. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil for these little teeny tiny ones. There we go. So I hope everyone's good and having a good Monday. We're getting into July now, which is very exciting for me because I know I shouldn't wish time away, but it means that the summer is passing us by and it will be cool again soon, hopefully. Yeah, I know people like hot weather, but really it's just difficult for me. So I'm actually finding it a little bit better this year so far. However, I'm recording this a little in advance, so I'm hoping that I won't have to eat my words later. And I think it's because I'm on HRT this summer, the hormone replacement therapy, so I'm not getting hot flushes. And that is making an absolutely massive difference to my ability to cope with hot weather. I still have some fans, like just a hand fan, not an electric fan. Can't be doing an electric fan. The noise and everything, I just can't. But I just have one that I can flap, which I can use when it's hot still, even though I'm not having a hot flush. That's rather nice. And oh, my son is singing upstairs. This pencil is giving me a little bit of blue streak sometimes, which is interesting. You wouldn't think a yellow pencil would have any blue pigment in, but it seems to. Okay, I am done with that. Now, another thing I'm going to do to make this page much easier is to not look for similar flowers and do them in similar colours. So I'm not going to go, all the ones that look like this across the whole page are going to be a particular colour. In this bunch that I'm doing, this bunch here, I might do all those the same. I probably will. But I'm not going to go and hunt for the rest of the page and find other similar ones. Now I'm just having a look at my colours I'm trying to decide. I think I will start with this 633, which is called Slate Blue. I'm going to sharpen it, and we are going to do those little teeny flowers with this one. Okay. Now these are so small that I'm just going to block in my colour. I'm not going to do anything special. That centre might just vanish away because it's so small. But if I accidentally colour over it and leave it in blue, I don't mind. Now this is a bit of a purpley blue, but I decided to use it anyway because I like it. And I think it will give a balance of different blues to the page. Now you don't have to do them all the same like this. You could do each of these little flowers a different shade of blue. It's totally up to you. Now we're going to use 330, which is the powder blue. Now I often get asked, how do you know the names of the pencils because it's not written on there? Well, they're on Staedtler's website. It's a little difficult to find, so I put together a chart with the names on, which you can download from my Ko-fi for free. Now what happens is if you go onto their website and you look up their various pencil sets on their website, and then you hover over the colours, they have a little square of colour. If you hover over the colour with your mouse, it tells you the name of it. It's hard to know to do that. I'm actually just blocking in these as well. I was going to fade them to the tip, but I'm finding it a little bit too difficult. I'm trying, but it just doesn't look like I am. So I don't mind. I'll just carry on as I am. Yes, so that's how I found the names. The only confusing thing is that in the Ergosoft, the names can be different to in the Design Journey. So these are the Design Journey pencils. And for example, number 43 in the Ergosoft is called light orange, I think. In the Design Journey, 43 is called peach, and it's 42 that's light orange. Yeah, 42 doesn't exist in Ergosoft, so yeah, it's not perfect, but it just gives you a bit of a name to work with, which I always think is rather nice. So there we are. But these are quite hard pencils. I know some people aren't a fan. They find them too hard. And you do have to work them up and down a little bit. I think I am going to do that one the same. But they're very good for fitting into small spaces like on this picture, because you don't have to keep sharpening them a million times. You know, I would never want to use something like a Prismacolor unless I was using the very thins, which are lovely and sharp and hard. You know, I wouldn't want to have to keep sharpening over and over. It'd almost seem wasteful, you know, to keep sharpening to a fine point all the time. So I prefer this sort of harder pencil for this sort of job. I am actually just working through the pencil tin at the moment. So this is the number 3. I'm just picking and choosing. I'm not thinking of an order. I think I could put that nearer the middle though. I'm just randomly choosing. It keeps it really relaxed and really fun, and you know, there's no decision making. Decision making can be really difficult. Interestingly, I think it was a book my son's singing in, number 333, and it was talking about how decision making is actually very stressful. And if we're in a supermarket, for example, and there are lots and lots of varieties of something, it can be so difficult to choose that sometimes we just give up and don't buy. So supermarkets know this, and that is why they don't stock every single everything. And that is why when you go to certain supermarkets, they might have different flavours of a product than other ones. They know. Supermarkets do their research so well. It's their job. They need to know what they're doing. 33. So they know. I mean, I still think there's often too much variety. It can be really, it's like, it depends what you're buying. And because I tend to cook from scratch and buy like whole foods, I guess is the term maybe, there is less variety. For example, if in my local supermarket, it's not a big one, if I want to buy some wholemeal pasta, I have the choice of a fresh tagliatelle, which is in a huge bag, which is far too much for us to eat as a family, so I don't buy that one. I can buy spaghetti, fusilli or pen, and that is it. There's no more choice. Whereas if I was buying white pasta, not only would I get choices of lots of different shapes to those, I would also have a choice of sizes of bag, which is another decision to make. 339. This is, I forgot to start telling you all the names. Slate Blue Dark. So yes, it can be stressful apparently to try and have to make lots of decisions. I'm going to try sharpening that again. It didn't sharpen. I think my sharpener's getting a bit full. There we go, that's better. Yeah, I've got my phone with me in case my son messages me. He did earlier. He just asked me what his national insurance number was. Now that, for you guys who aren't British, it's sort of like a tax reference number ish. It's something the government needs so that it's a type of tax, I suppose, and national insurance pays for your sick pay. It pays for your pension, your state pension, and I think it might go towards like any hospital care and things like that, but I'm not entirely sure. But so his employer will have to pay some of that for him. Once you earn over a certain threshold, you have to start paying your own as well. The employer one is a lower threshold, I think. I don't think he will be earning enough, but he has to have that number so that he can be tracked on the government systems, just for tax purposes really. He'll be on a tax code. I'm not sure. Yes, he'll be on a special tax code because he's got a student loan. Student loans in the UK are paid back via your tax. So students, ex-students or students like he is, are put on a special tax code which knows to take out their student loan money payments. But there is a threshold and he won't be reaching that. Partly because he's not going to be working for a full year, and partly because he's not earning enough at the moment. I haven't actually calculated his salary, but I know the threshold isn't really low. So this is 36. I think this is our indigo. I'm going to use this for the edges. I need to just sharpen it. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to use a lighter one for the edges because I think if we put these two darks together, I don't think it will show up. So I'm going to use the indigo for these. Why ever not? Something a bit different. Mix it up a tad. I think I can't remember how I did this page in my World of Flowers book. I think I may have done it in all purples, sort of violets. I'm not entirely sure, but I know I kept it simple like I am now. You could do these two a different colour because they're smaller. I think it might have looked better because they're overlapping, but anyway, I've made the decision now. I have to stick with it. I think it's okay. It's just about working. And there we go. And then we have this one. Whoops. Oh, we're going to do the edges of the other petals with this. This is really light. It's the 302. It's the pastel blue. So it'll be dark enough. You need to, because they're a hard pencil, you have to make sure you put enough layers down so it shows up on the white paper. If you've got a very light touch, then you'll need to layer up more. I can hear a car alarm. It was going off when I was having lunch. Still going off. Could be a house alarm. This seems to go off a lot, but I guess because I've got the windows open, I can probably just hear them more than normal. But anyway, don't find it that annoying really, even in the night. I think it will be because they stop and then restart. I actually find that more annoying than if they just kept ringing, you know. Here is our 31, which is our glacier blue. I'm going to do this one. I am going to try and fade this one because it's a bit bigger. Yeah, I'm trying to keep this one really simple because we have had some quite complex pages in the planner, and I think there are more complex ones to come. So it's quite nice to have a bit of a breather, as it were, and just chill and do something easy. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be watching tennis right now. It's afternoon, but the matches I want to see aren't being televised, so I didn't think I would bother. This is 30. I'm going to go down to this little bunch here and do these. I'm going to need to sharpen that quite sharp. Yeah, because it's pre-Wimbledon still. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. The two tournaments that are taking place, Wimbledon qualifying and Eastbourne, they've only got a camera on the main court of each of those, and they haven't put the players I want to watch on the main court, which is fair enough. I mean, you know. This is 37. 37 is the either called ultramarine blue or cyan. I've got it 2 names written down on my chart. So you can choose which one you want. Now I'm just checking the colours because I don't want to go into the greens, but this one 35 is turquoise, so I think we're okay with this one. Can do this flower here. That's quite a pretty colour. I don't know why I don't use that more. That's rather nice. And then we have, I use the aquamarine, and then I'll leave it at that. The hooker's green is actually very blue, but I think it's probably would look very, it looks really blue, 359. But I think if you put it next to blue, it would look green. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a weird one. Okay, so now I'm going to move across to this bunch here. I'm actually going to work my colours in reverse order across this way so that we don't get the same colour here. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to start with 359, which we did just use, and do our sort of edges of this one. Now, of course, you can include these edges just in the main part of the petal if you don't want to sort of do them separately, and it would make it a little bit easier. So if you're struggling to see, I would just incorporate it into the whole thing rather than doing them a separate colour. But I'm okay. My eyes are going a little bit wooey. Wooey? It's a good word, isn't it? Blurred is the word. But I'm okay. I'm coping, which is lucky. Now, I'm not sure how many videos this will take. I sort of guessed that it would be 2, but I'm not sure really. I think it probably could fit into 2, but I don't know what lengths to do. It also would depend on the green. If I do all the leaves in the same colour, it will hugely speed up the end of the video, like massively. And now I'm going to start picking random colours, I think. No, I'm not. I'm going to use this one, 35 for the inside of this. I was going to go for a really light green, blue, and then I realised we used them there. So I thought, stick with the idea. This works anyway. I think it's rather pretty. Looks a bit greenish, doesn't it? But they're the sort of turquoisey, aquamarine-y colours, so they will be a bit bluey. And I'm not trying to shade, I'm just blocking it in. It's easy and fun. I forgot all about trying to have a different amount of colour in different places. You can if you want, but I just enjoyed it doing it that way. My next one is the 37. there's this little one here. I'm also going to do the other little one there. I didn't do the yellow on this one. I will grab the yellow in a minute. Let's do these leaves first, and then I'll do that yellow middle. There we go. Remember, we used the 10. It's called light yellow, but I think it's fairly bright, really. And now we are using the 30, and I think these two are the same, so that's how I'm going to colour them. There we go. My flowers in my garden are doing quite well. My fuchsia seems to have shrunk. It's really weird, but it's still flowering, so that's really nice. My violets I thought had gone over because the leaves were all getting crispy and looked like they were dying off, but it's reflowering, so that's really nice. And the violets have got a mixed colour, so there's orange and purple and white and pink in there, I think, so that's rather nice. And my bleeding hearts is just going over. There's barely any flowers on it at all. I left them. The bees were really liking them, which was interesting. This is 31. My lavender is doing really well. I've only got a really small pot of lavender, and it's just looking very pretty. Here we go. This one is the 302. I'm going to do all these three. I've got 3 alpines. I don't know what they are. One of them is yellow, and they open up in the sun. When it's shady, they go red and close up, so that's rather sweet. On stormy days and cold days, they don't open up at all, so that's nice. And then there's another one which is yellow, and it's only just started flowering. Now we're going to move to this teeny bunch here. I'm just going to continue moving through my colours. So 36. This is quite dark. I think I'll just use it for this one. Then I have another alpine which is violet. It's really pretty. And that stopped flowering, and I thought it had gone over, and now it's come again with another set of flowers. So that's nice. It's a real sort of, 339. I thought, oh, it's all finished, but no. And what else do I have? My fern is looking really lovely. It's standing out very tall and pointy, which is nice. And 33. Unfortunately, I had a gerbera daisy which I'd planted, and it looked nice, and it went over. The 2 flowers finished, and the leaves looked like they were going off a bit. And then, I've missed some. Here, the buds. I'm going to do the buds in 333. So I thought, but my sister bought me another one, so that was nice. So I planted it beside it, and it got quite a big one here. Hang on, I'm going to come out a bit, or else I'll forget that you can't see. There we go. So this is 3, and I'm going to use it for these sort of tulipy ones here. And so that was flowering, so that was nice. But a second flower has come, and something's eaten it. So oh. So it was just starting to open, and it wasn't very tall. I think that was probably part of the problem. It was actually lower than the leaves, and so I think something like a snail could get to it really easily and has eaten it. But never mind. Everything else is doing really nicely. We've got some more poppies at 63. These are what we call Californian poppies, and they were earlier in the year, they were flowering yellow, but these are a couple of orange ones have come up, so that's rather cute. They're looking nice. There's only a couple of them, and they're on the fence line in the gravel because they're sort of weeds really, but they're pretty. And all our grasses seem to be doing well that we bought and planted, and we've bought lots of different colours. 330. So there's a pale greenish yellowish one. There's a reddish sort of colour one. Sorry, the mic is scraping on the desk. And there's a sort of darker green and white sort of colour. But one of them looks really, really flat. It's very odd, 633. And my husband reckons that the pigeon sits on it and has... Oh, I didn't do that bit first. Has sat on it and squashed it. I don't know if it has. It does look like it could be... I think it looks more like maybe a cat sat in here. Anyway, we'll see how that manages. I've also got some daisies, white daisies. They're not sort of lawn daisies, you know, that sort of daisy. I'm going to start back from the other end. They've got slightly out of order, haven't they? Hang on. There we go. 359, and I'm going to do this one. I'm just going to ignore those little blips. I'm just going to colour right over them. I am going to try and fade towards the edge of the petal here. Yes, so I've got these white daisies. They've got sort of silvery blue leaves. I don't think they're really daisies, but they're pretty. And I thought they'd gone over and they've come back as well. So it's really nice. I think it might be something to do with the fact that we've had a bit of rain. I don't know. I don't know anything about gardening. Whoops. This is number 35. So no, I can't be sure what it is. But it's rather nice that everything is doing well. And we've had a really hot, dry, well, very, very dry and now hot and still dry spring and summer, 37. It doesn't really suit all plants. So I have been watering a little bit. It's difficult because our water is metered, which means we pay for everything we use. And I think that's perfectly fair. But it means that you sort of think, oh, I don't know if I want to water the garden all the time because I'm paying for every drop, you know. And of course that's good because we should be thinking about that. 30 and making sure we're not wasting. But on the other hand, it sort of makes me think, ugh. But I don't have any sort of way of watering them with wastewater. We don't have any way of collecting rainwater or anything like that, you know. And I used to. I remember when I was a child thinking I'd like to water the garden with the washing up liquid, not liquid, the washing up bowl of water, dirty water. But then, you know, you've got bits of food in there, and as I said earlier, washing up liquid. I don't think plants want that. So that's certainly not the type of wastewater. But we don't really have a way of doing that. I know some houses have sort of harvesting of water, rainwater and other things, which is really good. So this is the 31. My father-in-law, for example, has a drain pipe on his shed and it comes down into a barrel. So then he can use that to fill his watering can and do a bit of watering. Oh, I'm doing these as well. I'm sort of mixing up a bit. But, and we used to have the same thing when I was little, but we don't now. We don't, our wastewater from our roof, from the drain pipe, goes underground, so we can't catch it anyway. So we don't have that facility here. It's just a different way to build the house, 302. So it's and because it isn't raining, you can't catch the rain. I did think we ought to get some sort of bucket on a string system and take water out of the river and water the garden. Be free then. It'd be quite tricky because the river is across the road. 36. You can do this little one. So hoisting the bucket down, trying to catch some water, hoisting it back up, then carrying it across the road through the house to the back garden will be quite a palaver, wouldn't it? So maybe not. I don't know what river water is like, to be honest. There's no reason why it wouldn't be good. This is 339. It was interesting this morning, actually. I went for a walk with my friend along the canal. Didn't actually see anything that was too interesting, to be honest. We were actually too busy talking and catching up because we hadn't seen each other for ages. And as she was getting ready to leave and popping the dog back in the car and that, someone drove past that she knew, and they said hello through the car window sort of thing, this lady, and she was wearing her dry robe, and my friend introduced me to her, and I explained, because she said, what are you doing here, to my friend, because she lives quite a way away in a sort of village on the outskirts of the town I live in, and I explained, because she was trying to help the dog, I said, I live here, and we've just been for a walk. 33. And she was like, oh, that's nice. And I said, you're going for a swim? Because she was wearing a dry robe, and she was like, yeah, because just down the just towards the end of our road, a little, well, not too far along further, there's a bit of river that you can enter quite easily. You know, you can climb down a couple of rocks and get down into the river, and it's really, really shallow. You can't really swim. Not in that bit. I don't know whether people can go further out and swim, but anyway, a lot of people go down there and just enjoy the river water. There's sort of cold. I think they think that being in the cold is good for their health and that sort of thing. I am in two minds about whether being in really cold water would be very good for my health. I think if you find being in nature really relaxing and being in water relaxing, then maybe it would be. But for me, I don't find being freezing cold in water that I know might be inhabited by rats and crayfish particularly relaxing. And you'd have to wear your flip-flops or whatever, just make sure you didn't cut your feet and things like that. So I was like, I don't think that's for me. Oh, it's very invigorating. I was like, I'm not doubting that for a moment. I'm sure it is extremely invigorating. This is 333, and it's a big one. I am really going to try hard to fade this one towards the tip. But no. My neighbour goes, and he said to me the other day that he found some sort of can on the bottom, really sharp. So that was not good. He luckily, he was wearing something on his feet, so he was okay. I think a lot of people wear their Crocs, I think, that sort of thing, but no, not for me. Even though it's just down the road. But also, I think you'd need to go as part of a group, because although it's really shallow water, you're in the wild, you don't know what's going to happen. You might get an injury or get cramps or something, just anything could happen, really. I think it's always wise to have someone with you, as keeping an eye out on each other. But anyway, I think it's also another reason why it's so relaxing is because you can't have your phone with you. Because you can't have your phone in the water. I mean, I know phones are waterproof, but some phones are waterproof. I can't imagine people would take their phone with them, number 3, into the water. And so you're away from that thing which brings you the news and comments from people and 63 and all sorts of negativity if you're not careful. Or angry posts and political things and all those things that can make you feel, I'm really careful with what I look at on my phone. But I still get exposed to all sorts of things that I don't really want to see. This is 330. I still find it really difficult not to look at the news. I do look at the news. I'm trying to look at it a lot less lately, which is good. Partly because of what's happening in the news, but partly because I know there's always something bad in the news. There's never a good news story. Also, I'm very distracted with tennis, which is good. Yeah, I like tennis. Even when my favourites lose, I still feel happy. I still enjoy. Right, I'm going to leave that there for today because we've done 34 minutes. And I think that tomorrow we can get this finished. We can do this bit of blue and then we can do the green, the leaves. I'm probably going to just use the same green for it all to keep it really simple, but I might change my mind, so don't take my word for it. But as I say, I'm going to stop here and I will see you tomorrow for the second part. So thank you very much for watching today. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay chilled, stay away from that phone and the news. Just watch my videos, that's fine. Thank you so much and happy colouring.